Hi, I'm going to talk about how to set up your palette. And on my plastic palette, what I've done is I've divided my paints by color families. So my yellows, which are warms, are clumped together, bracketed by orange, which comes between yellow and red. Then I have the pink tones, or rose, or alizarin, are really in this department because they start moving into the cools. Then I have a violet, which is usually Winsor violet that I use. It's my favorite. And don't look at this because this is a mistake. And then I have ultramarine blue, which is a warm blue because, again, it's got pink in it. And then I want to go around the color wheel. It's basically a color wheel shift going into the cooler blues. And I have more violets. I had an extra well, so I just put more violet in there. But the logic of it, you can see how this comes along. And then Winsor blue, which is very, very cold. And then I move into the greens, which is Winsor green, Viridian green, sap. And then I go into Payne's gray. Lamp black, I have an extra well here. I very rarely use black, so you could decide whether or not you want to even bother with it. Then I go into yellow ochre, which really to me begins the brown family. And again, that was an extra well, so don't look at that. So the browns are here, and I fill up those gaps. So the browns are clumped together. So there is, again, you can see how the warms are on one side, the cools on the other. And that makes it a lot easier to know exactly where things are as you continue to paint. One other thing, first of all, I would label your colors. Some colors look the same, and you're never really sure. So it's a good thing to have. I use a labeler and then a little clear nail polish on top of it. And that gives me a nice seal on that. And the other thing I want to mention is these plastic palettes, they tend to crack over time. So I've decided that I like to glue them on a piece of foam core. And then after they're glued, this particular palette, I glued it down to a piece of foam core and then I backed it with some duct tape. But you can get creative on how you want to set up the palette onto another surface. It does give it a little extra weight, but it's better than having to keep buying these palettes. And I believe I got this one at Cheap Joe's. Recently I've been doing a lot of landscapes and I found that I'm using a lot of greens. So I have one of these little tiny palettes that are pretty cheap and available. So I have a variety of greens here that I could play with. That gives me a little extra space, and I could put this away when I'm not using it. And I think that you could see the system I have, and I hope that helped.